The president of Upper Deck issues a stark warning to collectors. He says high prices in the hobby right now are not sustainable. And when speculative money moves out of the hobby, all collectors are going to feel it. Does this mean we need to be selling everything right now and running for the hills? We'll debate next. Hello, sports card investors, and welcome to another episode of Cards on the Table. Teapot, Lechner, good to see both you guys today.
Good to be back.
Welcome back to the show, Lechner from our live selling and breaking team here at Cards HQ on Whatnot. Happy to have you on the show today.
Pleasure.
Yeah, you know, guys, this first story today, this is an attention-catching story because it is not often that you hear the president of one of the biggest companies in the hobby, one of the manufacturers that creates all of the hockey cards. We're talking Upper Deck and a lot of the entertainment cards as well. The president, Jason Mashara, coming out in a LinkedIn post and raising warning flags about the current state of the hobby, calling prices high, too high, unsustainable, comparing prices in the hobby right now to luxury goods spending and speculation and, you know, overly expensive concert tickets. A lot packed into his statement here. And I was a little bit surprised when I saw him post this to LinkedIn and I saw it circulating around social, because you wouldn't expect the president of a card manufacturer to say, guys, be careful out there.
True.
But that's what he's warning us. And I want to read the second part of his statement. He says, when boxes cost $1,000 or more, you're not buying for fun anymore. You're speculating. You're betting that what you buy today will be worth significantly more tomorrow, and that works until it doesn't. Sports cards have always had speculation built in. You collect a rookie hoping they will become a Hall of Famer. But what's happening now is different in scale. And when markets become speculative, they become fragile. I'm not saying the sky is falling. I'm saying we need to be honest about what is happening. This isn't sustainable growth driven by collectors who love the hobby. This is wealth concentration driving prices that most people can't participate in. And if that money suddenly moves elsewhere to bet on something else, we will all feel it. A little bit of an ominous way to end this message. Teapot, when you saw this, what did you think? Does he have a point here? Should we be concerned? Should we sell our cards? Are prices not sustainable, or is this a little bit overblown and he's just, I don't know, being a little too doomsday for your liking?
It's definitely an interesting statement from his position and vantage point. It sounds like you should try to get him on the Jeff Wilson podcast and
could be an interesting
unpack
interview.
This a little bit more, maybe here on Cards on the Table. I want to break down into chunks more of what he said, because I think that's the right way to approach this. And I don't disagree with some of it, but in other ways, it's hard to capture the essence of it in a LinkedIn post. So he said 50% of consumer spending is coming from 10% of the population. That's kind of how he opened it. That's not new.
Yeah, I was going to say, is that any different than normal?
There's always been disproportionate distribution of wealth, right? So we did see the biggest wealth transfer in the history of the United States in the last 5 years.
That's right.
There was a lot of money moving into the bigger corporations' pockets. Globally, we've heard it since I was in high school that the top 1% control 95% of the wealth. This is nothing new. So there's some truth to what he's saying, but it's not like that statement's not groundbreaking. That's not a new precedent, really. You mentioned this. He said when boxes cost $1,000 or more, you're not buying for fun, you're speculating. So I would say, well, price point, right? That $1,000 price point. Keep in mind that 80% of the supply of the US dollar has been printed in the last 5 years. The prices of everything has gone up astronomically.
It's true.
And now you're talking about a hobby that's increased in popularity astronomically. So it makes sense that prices have gone up. But boxes aren't really over $1,000 for new boxes right now. That's actually an overstatement. There's products that are high-end, like Flawless and NT and Dynasty and
Or in his world, the cup.
Sterling.
The cup's over $1,000.
The cup's over $1,000. Right. But I looked at market movers.
Most aren't.
Yeah, I looked at market movers. We tracked thousands and thousands of sealed products. And the only boxes over $1,000 from 2024 product and 2025 that are hobby boxes that aren't those high-end products are Prism Football and Prism and Select WNBA with Caitlin Clark rookies. That's it. Those are the only boxes that are over $1,000.
Excluding like definitive
excluding
and
the high-end
flawless.
stuff.
Okay, sure.
But like if you're thinking about a collector product,
the everyday
a
person who walks
mass-produced
into
product,
Cards HQ.
Yeah.
Right?
Market Movers has tracked 171 hobby boxes under $1,000 in the last 14 days from those 2 years of products, which is the new stuff. 125 of those hobby boxes are under $300 a box. So in a world where there's a huge money supply increase, where there's more and more people with more wealth, it's not as dire as what he's saying. Some boxes are really expensive. He goes on to say this market is fragile. We need to be honest about what's happening and that this isn't sustainable growth, but it's driven by wealthy speculators. I think he's right, but only about certain aspects of the hobby, namely the super high-end market that we've been seeing record-breaking sales in, and we see Kevin O'Leary and Shine and these big players coming in and putting big money into it. I also do think that within breaking and opening sealed product and repacks, there's a disproportionate number of people with a high amount of discretionary income who enjoy that being their recreation and going after it. But if I tie this into his opening remark and what he said in his first paragraph, he said, it's pricing some collectors out. Last I checked, we've got thousands and thousands of 50-cent value cards out here in the bins, and there's always 3 or 5 or 20 people sitting at those value bins. Yep. Rob from Burbank has literally built his entire business model on the backbone of cards that are $20 and less. He has millions of listings online for those cards. Is wax more expensive now? Yes. It's frustrating to a lot of people who could count on opening a box of Topps flagship every year, or even Topps Chrome for $220, and now it's $400, $500, $600 a box. I understand that as a frustration point. Overall, this is the last thing I want to say, I have to question the motivation of the post. And I don't know Jason at all. I don't know him. I'd love to talk to him. It may be just sort of a noble post from his vantage point, like a real cautionary tale. And if that's the case, and he has a genuine concern, that's fair. But on the flip side, whether he realizes it or not, it kind of smacks a little bit of envy. This is Upper Deck. Upper Deck plays in the hockey space as well as a few other things. They don't do the volume that Fanatics does and whatnot. And I have to imagine that if he had just gotten an $11 billion valuation like Whatnot, or a $31 billion valuation like Fanatics, this post might not have ever happened. And that's just the reality of it. Again, I don't know Jason. Maybe he would get that valuation and still go, but everybody be careful, and he's just kind of got a noble mindset. I think it's a little bit blown out of proportion, and I don't think it's that fragile at all. I think we're seeing new people coming in all the time. Maybe the Ohtani cards that have gone absolutely like this in the last 2 weeks are fragile, but these value boxes aren't, and neither are a lot of the other things that most people collect.
That was not the reaction I expected you to have. I expected you to stand on the desk and start banging and say hobby boxes are too expensive, and I've been telling you they're too expensive, and bring the prices down.
The hobby's more than hobby boxes.
It is. The hobby's a lot more than hobby boxes. That is true.
Yeah.
That is true. But interesting stats you shared there from Market Movers. That's interesting stuff. Lechner, what was your take when you saw this?
Well, I think exactly what Teapot just said, the last sentence you just said is exactly what I was going to say. The flaw, I think, in the point that he's making is that it assumes that ripping sealed wax is the only way to participate in the hobby, and that's just simply not true. I mean, you can do singles, you can trade, you can collect, sets of your favorite player or rainbows and things like that. All of those things you can do, even breaks, right? You can do all of those things without going all in on a $1,000 hobby box. Is the entry point looking different than it is 10 years ago on sealed wax? Yes, that is true. But I think that's just a flawed argument to just say that that's the only way you can participate in the hobby. There's so many different ways that you can participate, and it's evolved, and the market is splintered into different lanes. Whether that is the collector lane, the breaker lane, the investor lane. All of those lanes play an important piece into feeding the ecosystem that is the sports card collecting hobby. So, I think honestly, if anything, breaks and singles really make it more accessible because you can still chase big cards without having to go all in on sealed wax, and you can have the chance to chase that and kind of get the thrill at at potentially a fraction of the cost.
Yeah. So. Yeah, that's a great point. I want to say two things on this topic. The first thing I want to say, kind of building on your last point, Lechner, is around breaking. I know there's a lot of people watching this show that have strong negative views about breaking, and every time, breaking's driven up prices. Well, yes, to a degree that is true, but what breaking has also done is it's made the high-end products affordable for people to have a chance to get some cards from.
Yep.
I have no doubt that there are more $1,000+ boxes being sold today than there were 5 years ago. There's more boxes, priced up there because the breakers are able to take those boxes and now fractionalize those into 30 spots or 32 spots and allow you to have a chance at getting some cards from a $1,000 or $3,000 box without having to pay $1,000 or $3,000.
Sure.
And if you go back 10 years ago, before breaking was really a thing, if you wanted the high-end product, you had to pay for the high-end product. You had to buy the hobby box yourself.
Yeah.
Now, if you want the high-end product, you can go onto Cards HQ, whatnot, Cards HQ Breaks, and you can get a spot in the high-end product and actually not pay that much money. And I get that line of thinking is also in some ways driving, prices of certain boxes up overall, but it doesn't, there are ways for it to be accessible to not the everyday, and without you having to shell out $1,000 on your own, for a hobby box.
Can I make one more point too about that? So there is on the internet community, there's a lot of people that will say, buy singles, don't do breaks, things like that. I think that's great. But if we go back to the ecosystem of card collecting, you don't get singles without breaks.
You got to open it.
The product's got to get open. So, and there's probably a lot of people that might come after me and be like, "Of course, you're a breaker. You're going to say something like that." I held that opinion before I was on this career path. You don't get singles without breaks. So even the singles, breaks benefit even the collectors that want no part of it.
Yeah.
Because that's how singles get on secondary markets for singles
You're right.
collectors.
Circle of life.
You're right.
Yeah.
They should want it all being ripped as quickly as possible. So all the singles
still
hit the
feeds the
hitting bag.
ecosystem. So.
Yeah. The second thing I want to say about this is the idea that the market's overheated, all this money, all this investment, speculative investment money is coming into it. True. A lot of that's happening. We're seeing the record sales. We're seeing the Star Jordans triple in price and all these Michael Jordan autographs, records, and all these cards shine. And Kevin O'Leary are buying for all these millions of dollars, all the exquisite stuff that's gone berserk. We're seeing all of that. That's true. I will say this, though. In 2020, the same thing was happening. It's just people were dropping $500,000 on Zion Williamson RPAs and Ja Morant RPAs. That's what money was being spent on in 2020. Go look. Yeah. Go look up Zion Williamson's sales above $100,000 and go look at that in 2020 and 2021. And it was sale after sale after sale after sale after sale that people were buying that stuff. This bull run that we've had this year, to me, when I look at the cards, that one set a record price, that one set a record price, that one set a record price. When I look at them, I'm like, oh, well, Jordan, Kobe, Tom Brady. Oh,
Ohtani.
That Ken Griffey Jr. sold for an all-time high. Oh, Ohtani. Okay. Mahomes. Oh, okay. It makes more sense to me. Is it a little overheated? Is it a little bit too much money's coming in? Maybe. Is there a little bit of a correction in the future? Possibly. Is there a big crash coming? I don't think so, because I think the money's going the right places. I think the money 5 years ago, when we had this big spike up and then stuff really came down, the money was not going in the right places. Mm-hmm. The big dollars were going into speculative stuff. Now the big dollars are going into, in my opinion, good quality, long-term hold stuff.
Sure.
I'm seeing more of that. And that's not to say that there's not any speculation taking place. I mean, certainly we're seeing Caitlin Clark record sales, and she's still got, a lot to prove.
Sure.
Her stuff could come down. We're seeing Wemby record sales, and he looks awesome so far, but he's still got a lot to prove. His stuff could come down. So there's still some speculation, but it makes me feel better knowing that the records are being set for the most part, cards that deserve the records. Those awesome Jordans and those awesome Kobe's and LeBrons and stuff like that. Well, you wouldn't agree with LeBron, but
I get it.
You get it. It seems to me a little bit better than how it was back in 2020. Yeah. So I get where Jason's coming from. I don't fully agree with it.
I don't think that a lot of the people who are paying to rip significant amounts of wax, whether it's buying into breaks or just ripping themselves, are doing it with the primary goal and expectation that that's how they want to speculate.
Correct.
I think people buying high-powered singles are the ones who are speculating.
Yes.
And these ones are the ones who like the thrill of a chase.
That's a good point.
And it's fun. And they maybe like to have a lot of cards. And maybe they like having a big box of donations to the Children's Hospital or the library and what. I've had a lot more fun buying into a lot of Detroit sports team breaks than I have ripping a lot of boxes on my own and getting nothing that I actually wanted, even if I hit something. So the stuff's selling. And until it stops selling, I don't think you can really make a case that it's like a house of cards, no pun intended, ready to collapse on itself.
There you go. You know what? I'm curious to hear what you think. Let us know in the YouTube comments. And guys, by the way, we got big news to share as well with the audience today. A few weeks ago on this show, I told you about how Arena Club was putting a special Michael Jordan card in as an Easter egg that you could find it randomly in one of their slab packs. This was like a $100,000 card. It was hit. Earlier this week, a collector hit the $100,000 Michael Jordan card in a slab pack, but Arena Club's not done. They're going to toss more Easter egg cards in slab packs in the future. Follow them on social media, Arena Club, and make sure your app notifications on the Arena Club app are turned on to know next time they do a drop. They're also doing a very special Halloween slab pack tomorrow. It is called their Ghost Multi-Sport. It is going to have, they have 1998 Skybox Dunk and Go Nut cards.
Yeah.
PSA 10, Jordan,
Love Dunk and Go Nuts.
Kobe, Iverson, Garnett, Vince Carter. They have some unbelievable cards. This set of 1998 Skybox Dunk and Go Nuts, unbelievable. You got to go check out everything Arena Club's doing. Their full checklist is very transparent. When you go to the Arena Club app or you look on their website, you can see every single card you can hit. Go check out this Ghost Pack that's going to drop at 11 a.m. tomorrow. Promo code SCI gets you 20% off. That, by the way, sit down for this. It's a $5,000 pack. But 20% off, promo code SCI for your first Arena Club purchase makes it $4,000. That's actually that's a nice deal. That actually is a nice deal when you look at some of the cards you can get.
It's a big pack.
We didn't rip a $5,000 pack. We ripped a $500 pack, the Emerald packs.
Still nice.
Teapot, let's see what card you got.
Yeah, I did basketball.
All right, here we go.
Ooh, Jaden Ivey.
Okay.
Jaden Ivey, rookie.
Rookie
auto.
Obsidian, yellow, PSA 10.
Very cool.
Very, very nice. All right, Lechner.
Ivy.
Let's see what
I had to
Lechner
go
got.
with had to go with baseball.
You got baseball,
Yep, I had to go
Emerald.
with baseball.
Oh my gosh.
What in the
What?
dude?
Oh my gosh.
That's amazing.
That's a huge
That
hit.
is amazing.
1955
That's
Bowman.
a huge hit.
My
Mickey Mantle,
goodness.
PSA 6.
Welcome to the show, Lechner.
That's a lot more than the $400 you would have paid for that pack if you used promo code
That's a
SCI.
That is amazing.
That's a sick card. Looks good too.
That's a really awesome card. I like Arena Club's putting more
shocked. I
vintage
love
in
it.
their slab packs, especially their baseball one. I like to see it.
That is
That's
super
nice.
cool.
Okay, I pulled a football
Bang.
one. I did football.
Okay. Ooh, my guy.
That's my QB1
Kirko.
in Atlanta.
No,
Teapot.
no.
Cousins, Bowman,
Not QB1.
Sterling.
Well, hopefully he's
Number
back to
25.
QB2. Hopefully he's back to QB2. Okay, that's
Cousins.
honestly.
You like that? You
Honestly,
like that?
honestly,
you
that's
like
a cool
that?
card. Honestly, that's
It
a
is
cool
cool.
card.
It is
that card.
cool.
That's a gold. That is a gold Kirk Cousins rookie
Kirk
or
Cousins.
yellow
25.
gold. I don't know. Kirk Cousins rookie auto. That is not a card you see every day. It might have been a little more exciting a few years ago, but you know what? He's still my guy in Atlanta. One of my
Kirk
guys in
Cousins.
Atlanta.
Yeah.
I'm Team Kirk Cousins.
From West Michigan.
Let's go. Okay, guys, one
is cool.
last time.
is
Download
cool.
the Arena Club app. Go to arenaclub.com. Use promo code SCI. 20% off your first purchase of any of these slab packs at whatever level you get. All right, let's jump into our next story. Gosh, we've been talking so much about record sales. This is a record in another surprising direction with how hot the sports card market has been.
Yep.
And with everything going up, a collector just took a $3.2 million loss on a card. Wow. The card that I'm talking about is the 1914 Babe Ruth Baltimore News card. So this card sold in 2023. I remember we talked about it on the show. We did a video about it. We talked about it. In 2023, that card sold for $7.2 million. There are many that think this is Babe Ruth's true rookie card, like his first card, his true rookie. This is considered the one, and there's only 10 to 15 copies of this card that are known to exist. And this was the first one back in 2023 that had come to auction for a long time, and it sold for $7.2 million at REA. Well, the same exact card from the same collector, he just decided to resell it in 2025. Maybe because he had seen all of these record prices on all of these other cards. So maybe he said, oh, my card's going to set a new record and go for all this money. Maybe it becomes the most expensive sports card ever sold and breaks the $12.9 million record. Not so fast, my friends. The card sold for $4.02 million. A loss of over $3 million in 2 years. It sold this time at Heritage.
Yeah.
This is
And Heritage they have a lot of big sales usually.
Yep.
this is believed to be the largest loss in the history of the sports card hobby on a sports card. $4,600 per day is what he lost on it. If you go across the 2 years that he had the card, he was losing $4,600 per day in value on that card. Unbelievable. Are you surprised this card dropped this way, Teapot? Or is this a sign that maybe the high-end vintage market actually isn't so healthy and hot? What do you think?
Well, my reaction to this was just ouch. Like really ouch. I would not have expected this at all. And I, in maybe a sick, morbid kind of way, would have liked to be in the fly in the room when the phone call rang at Heritage to say, like, hey, what happened to my card? Like, I thought I would make money. I don't imagine this person or the folks at Heritage would have thought this card would come down that much. Every other thing is just constantly breaking records. It just makes you wonder big time. Like, was there funny business when this card originally sold? Where's the second highest bidder from 2023? That person also just lost interest?
Yeah.
Or
point.
did the second highest bidder from 2023 just win this and the third highest bidder was just that much farther apart?
That could be
because
too.
it only takes two. The price you pay is always one bid increment higher than the next closest person is willing to pay for a card. So other than that, I mean, I don't have a lot to say about this. I understand the significance of this card. I find it to be really unimpressive visually, and I would much rather have one or even two, maybe three, depending on what the prices would be today, of the PSA 9 1933 Gaudy Babe Ruths, the best known condition of those cards, which one sold like a few years ago for like 1.7 or something like that, and it was the Pop 1, one of the Pop 1s. I'd rather have those. I like that set a lot more. But there's no denying the importance of this card, especially with the extremely restricted print run with only 10 to 15 copies out there. So just a little bit mind-boggling, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, those are very true thoughts. Lechner, what did you think?
Yeah, it's definitely unexpected. I mean, I think it just goes to show how, volatile the ultra high-end market is. I wonder if there's maybe just some confusion around that card. It's like, is it technically rookie? Is it not? Things like that. I also wonder is what part of the generational shift has to do in the effect of this card. Like we mentioned, there's a lot of dollars that are being poured into guys like Brady, guys like Michael Jordan, LeBron, even Ohtani now, things like that. And is the shift in generations starting to maybe not focus on those early 1900 cards as well? I don't know, but it is interesting. It's unexpected. $3 million is $4 million is still a ton of money for a sports card. Let's not ignore that fact either. But yeah, $3 million loss is definitely unexpected on a card like that.
I think you both made good points. Maybe it's a little bit of a generational thing. I do think you're right, Lechner, that the rarity, the uniqueness of this card, combined with what Teapot said, the lack of eye appeal, probably means there's a finite audience for it. I do not think you would have seen this type of drop if one of those top graded Babe Ruth Gaudis from 1933, like a PSA 9, PSA 10, 1933 Babe Ruth Gaudy, if that had sold 2 years ago and then came up for sale again,
sure,
I think it probably would have gone up in price.
Yeah.
High grade Mickey Mantle, PSA 9, 1952 Mickey Mantle.
Yep.
If that had sold 2 years ago, came up for auction again, probably would have gone up in price.
Yeah.
There's something to be said for cards that are a high grade version of a card with more out there of that card. So because then the card it's more iconic because more people know about it. Sometimes sometimes extreme rarity, which this card is, can work against you a little bit.
Can almost be too niche.
Can almost be too niche.
Yeah.
Can almost become a little too niche.
Yep.
Rarity doesn't always mean that like there's this, there's a ton of demand for it, right? And in this case, there clearly wasn't enough demand this time to drive it up to prices where it was last time.
I will say that if I'm stacking up this card with the reported private sale of the $2.4 million Kobe patch auto that Secure just acquired through Golden with a private deal, this is a much better buy than that, in my opinion.
I would agree with that.
That was a really mind-boggling one.
That would surprise me.
So if I'm Secure, maybe they won it. I don't know if we know who the winner was of this, but like this is a card I would see as like park it in a portfolio.
Yeah, I would agree.
Especially at almost half the price it sold for 2 years ago. It's an important card.
It is an important card, no doubt, no doubt. I mean, the first Babe Ruth card, it's an important card. Okay, let's switch gears to Topps basketball. Last Thursday, 1 week ago today, was the release day of Topps flagship basketball, the first licensed Topps product in many years. We've already seen, we had a lot of it ripped at Cards HQ. We had a big launch event here. There were launch events all over the country. You saw probably on social media, big lines, at different launch events. Here we had Agent 00, a popular streamer, come to the store and rip it, on a Fanatics Live with us. And we've hit some big cards on our breaks.
Yeah.
Lechner, you probably ripped some of this, and we've seen some big sales online as well. We're starting to see some of these sales come back. So far, there have been the 1980-81 Topps Chrome Veteran Auto of Victor Wembanyama. It's a redemption card. 2 sales of that. This would be the out of 10 of that of Wemby's auto. $13,500 and $12,000. 2 sales of that card. We also saw the orange variation of that card in a redemption sell for $6,500. The gold variation in a redemption sold for $6,250. We also saw a Cooper Flag orange out of 25 auto sell for $8,000. Those are the biggest sales we've seen so far. There was, however, VJ Edgecombe, his Superfractor, his 1-of-1 Superfractor from this set was posted on eBay on an auction. Bidding exceeded $23,000 with 2 days left. And then mysteriously, the seller canceled the auction and said that the card was no longer available. And the auction went away.
That's interesting.
And so no one really knows what happened there. It's a little strange. Some are speculating that maybe another auction house got to him. Maybe Ken Golden got to him.
Sent him a DM.
And said, hey, what are you doing selling this on eBay, buddy? Yeah, I don't know if that happened or what happened. Or maybe he just got a private offer from somebody and he just decided to, take the private offer. Who knows what happened. But that would have set the record. But that sale didn't go through. Now, what we have not seen is we've not seen, a Cooper Flag Superfractor. We've not seen a Wemby Superfractor. None of those have gone up. When they do, surely those will set the records. A lot of hype regarding the launch. Teapot, did any of these top sales surprise you, or anything about the launch in general that caught your attention, surprised you, or disappointed you?
The price of the boxes has come up a lot, just being over $200 for flagship, and you do wish it was a little bit more accessible so that everybody could celebrate it. That does dovetail back into our original conversation, the main topic, for a product that you would hope you could get into for what they originally released it at $120 or whatever it was. But outside of that Babe Ruth bloodbath, that was unfortunate, very little surprises me in the hobby today. I'll be concerned with the prices of this when new products start to come out, especially Topps Chrome. Even though we don't know when some of these future releases are going to happen, they will happen. There's a lot more product yet to come out. Flagship paper is an exciting, early release within any season, but just be careful. I took note of the LeBron. We posted it on the Market Movers Instagram. The first All Kings LeBron sold for $4,000, and then another sold for $3,000, and the third one that sold was at $1,000. So it's and they're gonna keep coming out. So just watch the prices on this stuff on the secondary market, and do your due diligence, I always say.
Yeah. Love those All King designs.
They're one of the
That's
best.
my favorite card from the set.
Yeah, they're great.
All Aces and All Kings from this year were
they're great.
Amazing.
Yes, love it.
They're very good.
Lechner,
Yes.
You've been around this product. You've seen this product. We've been breaking this product. What do you think?
Yeah, I got to see a lot of it on release day, especially. I think they did a great job with the images. Now they mimicked the same flagship design that they did for Series 1 and 2 baseball. I will admit, 2025 flagship is not my favorite design in the last couple of years. I like it. I really like 24. 25, not my favorite design. But I do think the one thing they did a really good job on is the images on the cards. There were some cards we were going through sorting where I was like, is this an image variation? But it wasn't. It was just a base. It was just a base image. So I think that looks great. The other thing I didn't love was the rookie shields. I think the rookie shields are a little bit corny looking.
It is corny.
I'd like to see see those improve a little bit. But it is exciting. I think that what I'm excited to see, like Teapot mentioned, I'm excited to see Chrome. I'm also really excited to see what Topps will do with maybe some higher end basketball products. I think there's a lot of really, really cool things that they could do there. So I'm interested to see what they continue to do with basketball.
Good points all around. Good points all around. All right, guys, one more story to jump into today. eBay, of course, we've been having all kinds of sales records this year on eBay. It's the biggest year ever for trading card sales on eBay. Outstanding numbers. They just recently released the world's top 20 eBay sellers. Sports Collectors Daily did an article about this. And of that list of all the sellers on eBay, so we're talking about sellers of electronics and clothing and everything else you could buy on eBay, 4 of the top 20 sellers were in the sports card category, which is kind of cool. This is, by the way, ranked by the amount of positive buyer feedback they have received.
Oh, wow.
So this is not just
like
total sales. This is transactions that have led to positive feedback that have been received recently. So in that ranking, DC Sports 87, popular eBay consigner, they're ranked number 6 globally. ComC ranked number 7 globally because, of course, a lot of their listings are sold on eBay. Greg Morris Cards ranked number 14 globally. And then PSA, the PSA store on eBay, which I'm sure this one's probably going to shoot up the rankings in the future because it's growing and growing month over month, but at the moment is ranked 17th globally.
Yeah.
Any surprise to you, Teapot, to see those sellers in the top 20? What do you think about sports card consigners doing so well globally on eBay?
Cards are red hot. This has not surprised me. And what I know from our data and market movers and seeing, we bring in 150, 200,000 transactions from eBay every day. They're the biggest marketplace. I'm so thankful for eBay existing because it makes so many of these cool cards accessible. And a lot of those cards, the vast majority, 85, 90% are like $25 and under. So again, back to that original, not to beat the dead horse, but like that doesn't sound to me like people being priced out. It sounds like a lot of record-breaking volume all the time happening. The main thing I would say for eBay is make sure they take care of these consignment companies. Build good relationships and keep them, because we just saw Probstein, one of their biggest sellers, leave the platform. We saw, I don't really know what's going on with Burbank, and they were off and they're back on, but like there was some tumult there. When you get strong business partners, you value them, build those relationships, make sure that they're cared for, help each other, be successful. And I think that's really important. And the last thing, I love ComC. I'll say DC Sports is just like, they've impressed me with their continued improvements to their website and to their services, and they have very good turnaround times on getting things listed. Everybody I talk to now today who's submitted with DC this year has said really good things. A few years ago, it wasn't necessarily the case. They were kind of more known as like, send your low-end stuff there and don't get good pictures, and they've just continuous improvement. So I'm not surprised to see them at number 6, and I think we're going to continue to see a few of these companies climb the ranks on the overall global rankings, and others creeping into those top 25, top 30 spots for eBay.
Yeah, interesting. What did you think, Lechner?
Yeah, it's not. I agree with Teapot. I'm really not surprised. I think it just speaks to the overall health of the hobby. Another reason why I don't think that it's doomsday at all. Sports cards are red hot. I mean, I think, and I see these names. I think in the last 12 months, I've probably purchased from each one of those consigners on eBay. So, not surprising. Like, yeah, it's a strong ecosystem right now. Yeah, it's red hot.
Yeah, it's good to see. It's good to see these companies having the success. It's nice to see sports cards being in the mix with eBay's top sellers across all categories. What that means is that I'm sure eBay is focusing more and more of their leadership team's attention and budget dollars on the sports card category within eBay,
right,
which is good for all of us, because what that means is that that part of the app's going to get more attention. Which means that it will continue to improve and get better, and be something that eBay promotes more and more. So yeah, good to see. Good stuff all around. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed today's show. Don't forget about that Ghost Pack drop on Arena Club tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Use that promo code SCI for 20% off. That is going to help you a lot to save 20% off on your first Arena Club purchase. Thank you for watching. We'll see you soon with our next one. Take care.